gonna review the loop that we did from Chicago coming back to Marathon. So that's the old boat we did it in, is a 50-foot Chris Craft Constellation, and 3 staterooms, 3 head layout, and it worked very well for us. The arch in that, you can see, maybe make out the little hydraulics that we put on there so we could lower it to get through bridges and such. So here's the map and the route that we took for October. So this October, we covered a lot of ground. In October, it was probably the fastest part of the trip. So, for a 30-day.
1,300 miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
On the, up to the Gulf of Mexico.
Jeff,
Jeff, what is the
will you
Gulf
go
of
back and
Mexico?
read off the numbers? I couldn't read them.
Oh. So what Nebo does, it tracks how many times the boat moved. So it moved 24 out of the 31 days, and it was 151 hours on the way, 1,305 nautical miles. So near 1,600 statute miles. We averaged 9 knots, and the maximum speed we hit was 19 knots. That trip. So, that good? All right. And this might overlap a little bit with the end of the last one, but the Chicago skyline and river was pretty tough to beat when you're out there with the boat. Big old State Street.
That great street.
And this is kind of an interesting bridge. It's a scissors bridge, but it lifts all the way across as opposed to the 2 meeting in the middle. And it's a railroad bridge. And you can see the massive counterweights on it. This is the deal breaker right here. So if you're doing the loop, if you can't get under this bridge, you can't do it. So this bridge does not move anymore. It is at 19.6, and that's the one that you do the loop, or that's called the Great U-turn. If you get there and you can't make it.
How high is it, Jeff?
So after
There's no way around that.
Nope.
No, you gotta go down to the,
Rocks?
you can't,
no, you go back to the lake and then go down to,
they converge.
before that?
Before that.
Yeah, you can't,
Bummer.
trust me.
I
Yeah.
guess you gotta.
So as we're going down the Illinois River, we took a side trip and went to see my grandmother's old house, which never looked like that, but
I was gonna say, pretty fancy.
that was Kankakee River.
She loved that water slide, I bet.
So that's where I learned to water ski and do all that kind of stuff. The typical Illinois River shoreline. You'll notice from here on out, the locks are a whole different size than what we were showing in the Erie Canal. These are big drops, 40, 50, 60, up to 80 feet.
80 feet.
So this one wasn't too bad. So it's another railroad type bridge where it just lifts up both ends simultaneously, and it's usually in the upright position. You'll notice all the waves on the river. That's what Clif enjoys, the rivers more than anything. That is her deal. Through Illinois and down through the Midwest, you'll see a lot of limestone and sandstone. This is near Starved Rock. It's a nice little park there off of the Illinois River. It's got 18 canyons that were carved out by the glaciers. We did not stop and go there because we're from Illinois, so we didn't make the trip out. Hugh, you guys ever go down there? You went down there. It's pretty nice.
It's
Nice
great.
little park, yeah. And the story about the Indians up there, it's all BS.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Okay. This is, very near Starved Rock. Back in the day, when we did the loop, the dock master there would give a speech on what conditions we were gonna find from here going to the Mississippi. So they would give you an update, a lot like they did at Hoppy's when, Hoppy's was in existence, so. And this was inside, as you can see, a subdivision, but it was very nice facilities. Now we start seeing the barge traffic, we're picking up, a lot more. This one's obviously empty because it's so high out of the water. At the White Pelicans, flooding is big time all the way basically, till you get to Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley, all the Ohio River, Mississippi, Illinois, they all flood substantially. And here's, the bridge in Peoria. I thought that was a nice shot at night. We were on a city wall because there was no, marina slips available in that area when we were coming through.
Didn't they call the yachts up there?
Pardon me?
They have a yacht club here.
Yeah. And this guy here, we were probably with him for 500-600 miles.
Wow.
You know, it just works out during the trip that you end up seeing the same boats. Sometimes we'll stay 2 days and he'll leave right away, but the next stop he stays 2 days. And when he got back to Kentucky Lake, he sold his boat, so he had just bought it to do the loop. So I think it's a 53 Navigator. And now this is luxury dockage. And it's you run into that where they have just a barge tied up, and that's your dockage for the evening. And you can see there's a little set of stairs. That's how you go up the stairs to get into town.
And Jeff.
There we are, right next to the pipes and everything that are.
Luxury. I didn't know those.
Jeff, in Beardstown, we encountered docking a beam of the barges with the warning that if they gotta go out in the middle of the night, we gotta roust you out of bed so you can move your boat in the dark.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a fun
Well,
one.
we had the same little speech. Here's the big exciting town. Like I said, the only thing from the 21st century were the cars, everything else pretty old, but I like the old small towns that to me are some of the best parts of the trip.
I don't wanna sound stupid, is that Illinois or not?
Pardon me?
That's still in Illinois?
Yes, we're still on the Illinois River, and so is this, but if you had to build your house like that, you probably would find another lot.
Where's the elevator?
That's pretty high.
That is just, people complain about stairs. Right. then from Grafton on, the other thing that starts to take place is that all the marinas, most of them are covered. You know, they're not open like we have down in the Midwest, especially Kentucky Lake and that. A lot of them have, so this is good. This one had a 25-foot air draft you could get in and out of. And, just the cows and cattle coming up, along the shoreline there. Again, you can see the wake is tremendous. Cliff is nervous.
I could have drove on that. It was nice and fast.
Yeah. So this is one of the few at the time that's a real paddle boat, and it, the Spirit of Peoria, and it was driven by the two paddles. It didn't have any thrusters, it didn't have any props down below like all the ones you see on the Mississippi now, but they went out of business after COVID, put them out of business. And it was gambling as well. Now this is the barge traffic now you start to see on the Mississippi, Ohio, and Illinois. So the standard tow is 15 barges, 5 long and 3 wide. And the tow captains are fantastic. They communicate with you. We had what you call AIS, so they pick up what our name is and how to hail us, etc., and they'll tell us, you know, pass on the port, pass on the starboard, or, you know, get the hell out of the way. We can't stop this thing, you know, but they're very good. And unlike radar, the AIS is a VHF, so it can go around the corner like a radio. So you'll see the rivers are winding it, so radar wouldn't help you in those situations. Yes?
Jeff, we used to live on Intercoastal in Galveston, and I could hear on my VHS from the house, which I didn't talk on, but I could hear the Cajun barge captains, I can't do the Cajun accent, say, "Hey bro, I'm passing on the one."
Yeah.
They're wrong.
Yeah.
You're lucky you can understand them at
Yeah.
all.
Okay, and right here, this is the Mississippi here, and this is the Illinois there. So we just came out of the Illinois, and I turned around to take a photo of that. So
Very cool.
now we're getting into, so this guy here is 8 across. It's just absolutely massive.
And they push it.
What's inside?
Yeah. Nothing on those.
They do a lot of gravel, sand, you know, but they'll be moving any, of course, fuel, oil, natural gas, but those aren't, those have covers for something they wanna keep dry. It's usually like a sand. And this is the Clark Bridge at Alton, and it connects Missouri to Illinois. And it's just north of St. Louis. And again, a lot of the limestone and sandstone bluffs make it pretty nice scenery. I'm a big turtle fan. So if I see turtles, I know the water's healthy, so that's why I like to
Unless you see dead
to see
turtles.
these guys. He is on look
Got a
for
job.
debris right there. He's on the one, he lets us know which side the debris is on. So. And then there's the famous St. Louis Arch, the Gateway Arch, and it's 630 feet by 630 feet. The park and everything is real nice if you approach the arch from the city side, you know, landscaped and all that, but the, water side, as you can see, isn't any big deal. And then there's more, well, you can see the conveyors come down to that, piling, and then they start dumping the gravel or whatever they're moving. This is on the Mississippi still, and that's Hoppy's. That was the last place where you could get water or power before you got to Kentucky Lake.
And they just closed it down this month.
Yeah, Fern
No
died,
longer.
Fern
Yeah,
died,
the
and the
kids-
kids didn't wanna do it.
They, yeah, kids said.
Mister
no
died,
thank-
and then the mother, or Mrs. kept it going for, and she would give all the, travel reports, but we just kept going. And then we got these sandbars and such as you're going along.
Is there
And
a,
you
is
got the
Wow, whoa.
there a flow that's moving you southward as well?
About
Yeah,
5
it,
knots.
right about that section's probably 2 to 3 knots you get. When we turn later on and go up the Ohio, it's real bad coming at you. It is ripping, it's 4 or 5 up to 6 knots.
We got fireplaces.
And again, you can see the gravel and that loading up on the, barges. So, this is one of the spots we anchored right before, we're going up, the Ohio River. So, we're right near Cairo, Illinois at this point, and we're just tucked in for the night. And we'll go back out the way we're facing there and make a sharp left, and we're on the Ohio River. And then as soon as you make the corner there, this is the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi, and there's barges and tows everywhere.
Not very scenic.
Yeah, and it's not smooth now. There's some more of them just scampering around. And we got lucky at the Olmsted locks and dam. They were able to squeeze us in, because commercial traffic has priority. So you can sit there for a long time waiting for the barges and such to go through. But we were able to tuck in behind this guy, so the one set of locks is going north and the other set is going south. And there's, on the Ohio, another riverboat. And this is Paducah. Cliff will talk to you a little bit about Paducah once we get to Green Turtle, because she and Crystal went into Paducah. But you were asking about the current speed. It's 40 miles up the Ohio, and it'll take some trawlers 12, 13 hours to get there, because they only go 7 knots, 6 knots, and then they're going into pretty
Took me
strong
2 days to
current,
get there.
so it just takes all day.
How long?
Oh, my gosh.
So, here we turned onto the Tennessee, and we're going toward Lake Barkley, but that's a green buoy that's underwater because the current's so strong. What we didn't know at the time was they had already started to lower the lakes, so they were letting out extra, water through there. So at this point, it's probably 6, 7 knots. So if you had a trawler, you weren't gonna be able to go that night. And then, now we're at Lake Barkley at Buzzards Rock. Again, you'll see all the covered burnt out is on the side tie there, where all the transients are. This little guy here.
That's
that-
his,
Little houseboat?
that's his,
He
he
came
lives
up
there.
from Mississippi.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
you know, he built the whole thing himself. It's pretty funny, but he had everything you could imagine inside that one little room.
Can't imagine traveling.
And then we went a whole 9 miles over to Green Turtle Resort. We stayed there for a few days. A lot of these places, we were at Buzzards for a few days as well. They have loaner cars, so if you're in the marina, you can take their car for free and just put some gas in it and go. So that's, I would imagine that's starting to disappear.
The gas part.
Hey, Cliff, you wanna talk about?
Paducah was so crowded, we couldn't actually stay in Paducah, so we had to go further out. So we rented a car, well, a service. We had a lady take us in a limo into Paducah, and we went to the National Quilt Museum. All those that you see there, that's all quilted. It took us 7 hours to go through the museum. You couldn't these are all quilts. You could not stop without going, you know, you wouldn't leave without seeing everything. It was amazing. He only put a few, I have a ton. Yeah, it was fascinating. You know, one of the few stops where we could actually get off the water and find a nice place. Museum was fabulous.
It's like painting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and Kristen is a knitter, so the two of them took off and went there, and they had a good time. So here's a map of, you've got over here, this is all dammed up. So you have the Tennessee River that forms Kentucky Lake, and that'll eventually get you to Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay, and then this side, Lake Barkley, is the Cumberland, and that goes to Nashville. So that might be a trip we do this summer, is go back to Kentucky Lake area. We haven't figured it out yet. But it's super nice. Created in 1944 by the Tennessee Valley Authority. It's 184 miles long and 2,300 miles of shoreline, so.
It's pretty beautiful.
That center part here, the land between the lakes is not built up. So at least that is not gonna be covered with houses. And there's as you can see there, there's a lot of nice coves that you can just go into and anchor. And it's typical shoreline.
It's like Sister's Creek.
So again, you can see where the rock cliffs and that are popping up. The deepest spot is 75 feet, and its average is 15 feet, so for the most part, nobody has any issues with, it's deeper than out here, so. Because we're in fresh water now, you know, you get to see some interesting, little islands and that pop up. This is one of the places we went to in New Johnsonville, Tennessee, and you have to go all the way up against the shore to miss the sandbar to get in. And then that's what it looked like in the morning when we were trying to leave, so we didn't go very far.
Did you stay
So that
there?
was, yeah, we just stayed there for a while till it.
Well, isn't that the day that all of us left?
No, that's a different one, that,
Oh, cause there was one day we all left and we
Yeah.
couldn't even follow the car, boat in front of us.
and then after it clear, you can see it's pretty good.
Woo.
But again, you'll see that the barges now are smaller and these run all the way, you know, to Chattanooga. It usually is as far as the barge will go, on the Tennessee, or go down the Tom to, Mobile. And this is the next day, so this is the one that, Cliff was talking about.
You know, we didn't wanna go, and everybody said, hey, you know, and I'm like, I don't think so, and they said, oh, don't worry. We had a big 72 in front of us, and he had his lights on, and he said, don't worry, I'm leading the way. So we all followed, and all of a sudden, we couldn't see him. They kept going. We said, no. And we pulled off, and we waited for,
Yeah, we just pulled off on the side because it does have barge traffic.
and you can't see them, you can hear them, so better to be safe.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is, Pickwick, so you can talk about.
this one, the lockmaster said he's never done this before. There were 3 barges coming through, and he said, anyone in the area, if you get here, I'll hold the lock open till you get here, because if you don't get here, you've got a 4-hour wait to do it. So he did, and he got 15 boats, and we had to raft next to each other. Because there were so many who wanted to get. Now, we're back here because this is a 72-foot, I can't remember the name of the boat, I love that boat. Anyway, he didn't want anybody rafting off on him, so he stayed way back. But then we were coming and we had no place to go, so we just rafted right next to him. So that was on Facebook. He actually posted, Lockmaster posted it, said this was the only time and the best time he ever had. That was a challenge.
Yeah.
And as we come out the other side, onto Lake Pickwick, or Pickwick Lake. So then we stayed at Grand Harbor Marina, so if any of you folks are, Civil War fans, or, you know, historians, all up and down, there's just a ton of, places to go. So again, this was one of the places that had, a car that we could use, and we reserved it to go to the Shiloh, museum. It was, one of the turning points in the war. It was April 6th and 7th, 1862. And a lot of people, 23,000 casualties in those 2 days. And this is Tuttle, and there'll be monuments like that throughout the park. But he was in charge of the Hornets Nest Brigade, and he had some heroics keeping the Confederates away from the Union. And that's just a nice shot of the marina there with the reflection of the sky. And now we're entering the Tennessee, Big B waterway, or for guys like me that have a hard time pronouncing Tentom. And it's 234 miles till you get down to Mobile. So, and it's a nice wide, man-made canal. And, you know, the narrowest point's 280 feet. So, and you can see again, the locks are, a lot deeper. This was one of our sister boats that we were going through, they took photos of us and we took photos of them. You wonder how I did the selfie, huh? Get more rough water. And it's just the locks before, so you can see there's, you're dropping down pretty good distance. We're getting near Columbus, Mississippi at this point, where they're loading up sand. And Columbus is Tennessee Williams, so we got all the boat club people here. And, it was a neat little town. We stayed there, 4 days, because Kristen flew out for a wedding.
Right.
So we hung out there for 4 days and,
Did a lot of tours.
yeah. And that's, so we toured his house, and the microwave is not original.
Beautiful.
Just a lot of antebellum homes.
You'll take that one too.
In the area.
Yes, I could go higher low.
And it's, again, just a average stretch. There's my turtle right there.
Wow.
They are, all over the place. And so this is one of the places we anchored out behind the locks near Gainesville. And here's the White Cliffs of Epps. And it's very similar to the White Cliffs of Dover. These are only 80 feet tall, but it's chalk.
That's pretty nice. That'd be so nice.
We talked to the lockmaster ahead of time, and they said that they're gonna let the recreational vessels through first thing in the morning, and then after that, he had a whole line of barges, so we took off at dawn. And this is another spot we anchored out off of the 10-Tom, Big Briar Creek, so we just tucked in off of there. At this point, we're only 20 miles away from Mobile.
How many barges would go by while you were sleeping? Or did they come through in bunches?
How many barges?
Come
would
through
go-
while we're anchored.
Did you have a lot of traffic when you
Oh,
anchored?
wherever
out?
we anchored, the barges didn't go. We
'Cause
were
we
up
cut over.
inlets and stuff.
Oh.
But they're moving all
All day,
night.
all night.
The
they don't-
locks were taking them all night too.
Yeah, but we didn't have any issues with them at all. Here I'm getting my props changed, or we're getting the props changed, because when we arrived at Lake Barkley, I hit something very hard.
Not good.
And so I ordered some props.
Yeah.
And then they were delivered here, and then they just picked the boat up, switched the props, and, got it going. So it worked out good, because up to 10 miles an hour, it didn't vibrate. So if I would try and get on plane, then the whole boat would shake, but that whole section was 10 mile an hour section. So-
And it's not that you were a bad navigator, there's all kinds of stuff in the water, logs
And
and
we just
trees
can't
and all
see
kinds
You
of
get
stuff.
the 20 bucks.
There you go. Making you feel
Well,
good.
when they did that, we were off for a couple hours, right? When they were putting the props on,
There they are.
they wouldn't let the dog off. He had to stay on there when they lifted it, and he had to stay on the boat by himself.
Why?
And they wouldn't let us stay on there with
Let a dog
them.
run around the boat.
And we're like, what?
They could care less.
I was.
Everybody worries except Leo. And now you can see we're starting to get major
Those are
commerce.
the containers,
Yeah, the containers.
no longer
and
sand.
Downtown Mobile. And we're back in Dolphin, so we're out of the freshwater now. And, so we're Fort Walton Beach area. So you're in, Intracoastal, once you leave Mobile. You can go on the Gulf side if you want, but we just stayed there. You guys new to this area?
Gosh, no.
When we pass your house, let us know.
You probably did.
We already did.
And I believe, is that an eagle?
Eagle.
Do I
That
have
is an
correct?
eagle.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
We saw a couple of them.
Yeah, we see those, but we got somebody that knows the birds here. And it's a very, very nice cruising back through that area. So now we're into November, so it's November 1st, way up here, Panama City. And then we're gonna end up by the end of the month down there. So this month, there's only 14 movements and 63 hours underway and 596 nautical miles, averaging 9 knots, and 19 knots was the max.
Jeff, would you mind pointing out which FCYC clubs you visited as you were hopping down?
Yep,
As you
we
go?
haven't hit one yet.
How about Fort Walton?
Couldn't get in there.
We couldn't get in.
We
Too
did.
big, too big.
We did.
Yeah, we got in, the next
Yeah, you can get in
slide,
Walton now.
you'll see,
They
we
have
got into
really
St.
checked.
Andrews.
We joined them.
St. Andrews
It
had
was
to
our
be
club
rebuilt.
for like 6 years.
So
Well,
here
how
we
did you
are
go?
at
St. Andrews.
St. Andrews Yacht Club. Leo's on patrol.
Girl, you're hometown for
It
us.
is do not pet sign.
But they insist on touching.
So there.
Okay, and this yacht club is no longer, they had the FCYC meeting a year ago, January. And they had their meeting on Saturday night, and all the people left, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, it burned to the ground. They don't know
It burned to the
what it was, you know, if something was left in the kitchen, all of a sudden, everything is gone.
Oh, it's so
And it still hasn't been rebuilt.
Yeah, there,
It was a beautiful, beautiful, had a playground, big sailing area for the kids.
yeah, well,
Nice
the
pier.
sailing is where they're holding their meetings and stuff now, but, yeah, it's a shame. And then after we left there, we're headed to Carabel, that's where you typically wait to cross the Gulf to go. And quite a few shrimpers in that. And again, we left fairly early in the morning. And there's somebody following us going across, so
It wasn't us.
typically there'll be a bunch of those, but you can see it was a beautiful day. There's no waves or anything out there. And then Steinhatchee, when we get in there. And everything starts to get real shallow over up there. And that's the marina that we stayed at, very fancy. And so here's the crossing, so, it was 7.5 hours, 75 nautical miles, average speed 9.9, max speed 18 knots, so that was it.
We took the shortcut.
What?
That was the shortcut, rather than go to
Yeah.
cross the Gulf. We didn't go from there to Tarpon.
Same thing, yeah.
Or we didn't go from there to Tampa or
Clearwater.
whatever.
No, well, that other,
Yeah.
you you come in at two.
Wow.
Then we went down to, Crystal River, and some birds are taking advantage of a sunken sailboat there. And we went to Tarpon Springs, we were there for a few days. It's, mostly tourism now, but it was the sponge capital of the world. And they're all Greek up there, so Clif has to go up there to get her pastries and stuff every once in a while. The Tarpon Springs, Yacht Club people bring her, pastries for the FCYC.
Cause they don't make them anywhere else.
And so once you hit Clearwater, the cities start popping up. And then we went to St. Petersburg, so all these docks there have been replaced since, we were there in that boat. We were there afterwards, and the new docks are very nice. It's one of our favorite spots because it, has everything you can imagine in the city there, a lot of culture. The, Dolly Museum and things like that. One of Leo's favorite stops.
Are they tearing that clubhouse down?
Pardon me?
Are they tearing the clubhouse down?
The St. Pete.
They're,
Yeah.
they're reworking it, from what I understand from the inside, but
Something
it's
pretty
like
major.
50 million bucks.
Yeah,
It's a-
something
It's
a
still
big-
beautiful.
It's a big number, yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that club.
Okay, here's our cruiser. So, if you were here for the last one,
Yeah.
our dedicated cruisers
Started.
went with us
Yes.
April 1st and took us up to Stewart and wished us well. And then they met us at Venice Yacht Club coming back, so those are good friends. So anybody that's interested in cruising, you're gonna get a loyal group of people, no pun intended. So the boat on the left is Don and Dee's Tachyon, and then Loyal and Bonnie's Bonnie Lass. And then we go to off to the field club, and, this is one of my favorite morons. He is rowing his boat in the channel.
Right down the middle.
Yeah. You remember that, Dee? Yeah. Yeah, you were hoping I'd wake him.
Real.
Yeah, no, he's
And you just,
just,
and so you just have to wait.
I don't know what it is in Sarasota, but they got some winter. And then,
drinking the water.
yeah, and then here's Tachyon going through, the pivot bridge. Oh, that's scramble. Huh? That's the old Tampa Bay. And then this guy here is another moron, sitting there in the middle of the channel, and you can see he's actively,
Trying to get out of the
our
way.
way.
Yeah, he's gonna really sail out of there.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
I love that place.
So if you guys are familiar with Marshall Fields, this is the nephew of Marshall Fields. This was his winter home. And he, said he would sell it to an organization that would use it for social, endeavor. It wasn't specified to be a yacht club or anything like that. Some of the people from the Sarasota Yacht Club came over here and started this yacht club.
How much, remember?
And, it was
Very hard.
$150,000 is what he sold it to him for. But it's, quite nice. So there we have the three boats lined up there. And it's just a first-rate facility. And if, you're on a cruise that Don organizes, you will be at the Field Club on Sunday, and you will be at Naples Sailing Yacht on Wednesday.
Right.
So those are the 2 days you know where you're gonna be. And, Tom and Sue weren't able to bring their boat up for this trip, but they drove all the way up, which was super nice, of them to come welcome us, back. I think Tom had some sailing races.
Yeah, they stayed on our boat.
Yeah. And then here's just so, it is, Field's old house, and it's still, all
Set
these
up.
rooms in there. It's hard to imagine that this was some guy's house.
We had been there in the Christmas season, and the way they decorated is just breathtaking.
Yeah, yeah. And, the inside courtyard and that, very nice.
Oh, yeah, remember?
Remember we went to.
Yeah.
And then, so what the group usually does is they pick different events and different things, so this weekend, this was one of them, that they decided to go to.
Siesta Key.
And it does get shallow. Boca Grande is very nice. Lot of dolphins in that area. We went to the Gasparilla Inn and had a real nice dinner there. South Seas Resort, there's Bonnie Lass, Tachyon and Burnt Out. It's still not back after the hurricane. They don't have bathrooms, it's
But
very
they're open.
disappointing.
But the Mucky Duck is open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
they
still
don't
have
have a
ducks.
slide of
That's the
money, but
important.
that's the, yeah.
No, that's the beach
That's
room,
the beach.
remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we head down to Pink Shell, and then we're at Naples Sail and Yacht, so it,
And they've taken the pool out.
yeah.
That's so terrible.
Because everyone that
They have
was
their
a
own
member
pool.
there have a pool in their house.
And they said, we don't want a pool.
Nobody ever used it except.
And they covered it up.
Yeah. And our day trip this time was to, Naples Botanical Gardens. And there's.
There they are at the seafood.
Hurting the buffet. It's, the seafood buffet it's like anything you'd have in Vegas or anywhere like that. It's just huge, like at the Bellagio or something like that. And then we'll see some more. And then Dee or Bonnie always would come up with a great meal that we'd have on the boats besides. So we didn't eat out every day, but both Dee and Bonnie are excellent cooks, so we,
Yeah, we were close
So
to
if
Trader
you cook
Joe's
it.
there.
That's good.
We didn't let them help us.
and then we, after Naples, we headed back, a little rough.
Yeah, little rough, little rough.
There's Tachyon.
Passing us,
Yeah.
waking us.
Yeah, well, we can't even find Loyal.
No, yeah, he's gone.
Loyal's gone, that's 7 Mile Bridge coming back in. And you can see that's the route, so it was 6 hours and 15 minutes roughly to go at 96 nautical miles.
Oh, that's hard.
Average speed 15 and
No,
a half.
no, this is a couple
18
years ago.
for a top speed. And there, we are at the end with our gold burgee, and to the left, that people don't even know who that's my brother and
Oh, yeah.
his wife, and then their daughter. They're members here. See?
Yay.
And then Leo's wondering where we go
Yeah.
That's it.
Now. We crossed our Wagon Marathon on November 26th. We traveled 6,457 miles in 237 days. Visited 19 states, over 135 cities, side trips to Philadelphia, Washington DC, the Canadian border, Lake Champlain, took an airplane ride over Niagara Falls, stayed at 101 marinas, 12 yacht clubs, and we anchored out, along the way, 85 locks, and under so many bridges, you can't even begin to count. So, we had a great time, and I recommend doing it.
So you're going again?
Will you go again?
We can't do the loop in this boat, but we probably will take a long couple months.
Oh, we're leaving. What year was that?
21, it's during COVID, which is why we could not get into Canada. So,
Thanks again so much, Jeff and Cliff, for doing another.
Who said that? That's
And,
ridiculous.
next month, Georgie Sage is gonna talk about her cruising on May 5th. So please come again, for her stories. And if you have stories you wanna tell, let me know and I'll schedule you for next year.
Thank you.
anybody else?